everybody, welcome to episode number 24 of Tactical Crouch. That's right, one away from 25, a quarter of the way to 100. We're almost there, boys. Tactical Crouch, of course, the competitive Overwatch podcast that almost always talks about Overwatch League, but sometimes doesn't, and you don't have to get your panties in a bunch if it does. And do that. So, just saying. This is going to be a very heavily Overwatch League podcast, though. Today, of course, myself, Yiska, Volamel, the normal crew. When's the last time we've had a normal crew show? It's probably been
a while.
8 or 9 episodes, right?
Yeah.
So it's a special one. It's a special one. It's always fun to just kind of hang out with you guys.
Yeah.
Just, you can kind of unbutton the shirts a little bit, undo, wear your turkey Thanksgiving pants, let it all hang out. You don't have to look all presentable. Joe?
Dress according to the stuff your bed sheets.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Live your life of plaid.
That's just an average day.
Yeah, just live your life of plaid.
It's hard out here, man. Nobody's buying articles these days, so it's what you see is what you
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Oh, yeah.
Your boys is broke.
Oof.
Yeah.
You guys should have gotten into the podcast game earlier. So much money in the podcast game. I'm just kidding.
That's true.
In the podcast game either.
That is true.
Oof. Well, on a lighter note, welcome to the show. If this is your first time tuning in, you can find us everywhere by searching for Tactical Crouch. So on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, search for Tactical Crouch. And of course, on YouTube, search for Tactical Crouch as well, or it's on the KickedTripod channel. And we stream live throughout the week at twitch.tv/KickedTripod. Follow us on Twitter at @tactical_crouch. Yep, there I said it right. At @tactical_crouch to know what day of the week we're going to be streaming it on, because we can't be consistent to save our life. But yeah,
we're busy boys, Some people are doing juice cleanses.
Like, if you want to have guests in the Overwatch League, and the Overwatch League schedule itself switches so much, right? Like last week we didn't have Friday games. That made it possible for Dogman to be on the podcast, for instance, right? So we kind of have to be flexible, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Be flexible, but we're actually pretty good at getting them out every week, so you're welcome. Other than that, though, let's talk about what's been going on recently. We saw a couple of moves, just little moves in Overwatch League. First, Arc, main support for NYXL, who's kind of been riding the bench since Animo came in, going to Washington, D.C. He's going to be on the Justice with his former pals, or still probably pals, but his former teammate, Janice, and analyst, now head coach, Wizard Young. So, Joe, what's your take on this one, man?
We talk about him going to jail and Washington being this, bottom tier team. And to be fair, I think that's pretty accurate. You win one game, and I don't think you're necessarily top tier, to be fair. But moving Arc to Washington is pretty interesting. I think they are on the cusp of trying to be competitive and having somebody that has some form of shot calling experience to kind of guide them, because I've been a little, a smidge higher on them than most people. I'd say that I think they set up very well, but they don't engage on things that they could possibly abuse. There's windows presented to them that they don't actually abuse or actually engage into. They kind of want to play this NYXL style. It kind of works for them, and I think adding Arc to this roster improves them in that style and just overall mechanically. Phozix hasn't been my favorite main support. There are other issues, so this is not going to make them some sort of playoff team or maybe even middle of the pack, but I think stage 2 with an easier schedule, stronger shot calling presence, stronger main support, this is just gonna play very well for them come stage 2.
So it was my understanding that the original plan for DC was always to have Arc go with Janice, and that
that was the kind of rumor
because of the surprise budgetary cuts or whatever it was with what they had versus what they thought they had. They didn't make it happen until after stage 1. My question, though, I don't know if either of you know this. I can't remember the last time that I've really seen got an extensive look at Arc's Lucio.
That's
a big question mark.
So, like, that's the question mark for me. Is he actually better than Phasix? Like, and I've gone through and I've tried to look for when he was playing Lucio, and honestly, it felt so long ago in such a different meta that I'm like, he might be a Lucio god. I would assume not, but he might be. But unless it's a Mercy meta, is this actually a valuable pickup over Phasix, Yiska?
So individually, you have to say that yes. So there's different aspects to this. As I try to find a picture, Okay, never mind. Let me roll this up this way.
Okay.
Arc is a much better player than Phasix is. Overall as a main support, as a shot caller, and he has true language accessibility, possibly ability to translate, right? That's huge. I already thought in the offseason that Arc would be one of the most sought after talents in the Overwatch League. For that reason, NYXL looked like they wanted to have Animo, so that would be something interesting. Now, here's the problem. The first asking price for Arc was 300k. That was first asking price.
Interesting.
Second asking price, then they went down to 230k from my sources. Then I think they offered someone 200k, I'm not 100% certain on that. And then nobody bid. What changed is my question. Did they drop the buyout fee considerably? I don't think NYXL would actually do that from their business practices that have shown. But how is that possible with the approach that DC has taken towards buyout fees so far? So
to be fair, we have seen budgets change throughout even the preseason. You know, there was a team coming into this that we were told, and you'll know this team once I mention it, that do not expect much from this team because they have a very stringent budget. So don't expect anything from this one team. Now, as we see, this team is actually doing fairly well. Not going to name names, but their budgets do play a role in building these teams. So has there been an increase on the budget because of how underperforming they have been? Was this the plan all along? Who knows?
Yeah.
Right?
Here's the thing. If it's even 150k, you get 3 players from Europe with very comparable, not comparable skill sets, but that are a higher upgrade. And also, you could probably still go to Korea and probably overall improve the performance of your team on several levels. I don't think, and I don't know the price point, and I also don't know what Arc's salary is. Yeah, I don't know if he's going towards minimum or whatever. No idea here, right? So there are factors, variables in that entire equation which we don't know, so we can't assess the deal. But what I'm saying is, if we assume that Arc commands a salary that is, respectful of his accomplishments, and his buyout is accordingly to the numbers I mentioned before, I don't see it being a good investment in comparison to what you could have gotten for your money. And I think also especially because Lucio is a
Yes, I agree. Like the Lucio, we have to wait and see. But I think overall, like you mentioned previously, if he has any kind of shot calling potential, Wizard probably will know that. There's probably a reason why they've spent, X amount of money, whatever that might be. But I will say, I think we should temper expectations on who we'd be able to get from Europe. Because if we want anybody from teams like Giganti, Samsung, British Hurricane, you're going to be paying a sizable buyout. And that's kind of where I think people tend to kind of, their mind tends to wander to, is like, oh, these are the top teams. This is who we want. We want Davin, and we want this guy and this guy. Like those guys have like pretty considerable buyouts, I would imagine. I don't think anybody's letting them go. Could you still get people from unsigned teams that are still doing fine? More than likely. And I think you could even do that in North America.
The interesting thing to me is right. Arc, in my mind, was always the one puzzle piece that is very much like the rest of the picture for the San Francisco Shock. They have a hybrid roster. They are going for top performers. They only have one main support. They are sometimes playing 5 Koreans. It would have been, like the perfect piece, even if you decide to play Sinatra the entire time, as well as, let's say, Super. Then you have someone that can communicate between them. Now, it's, of course, less of an issue because much of these Korean players have already played an entire season last season with a hybrid roster, so it's less of an important thing. But that's very interesting, and also tells you how highly they regard Moth. I think that definitely. Yeah, we've heard very good things about Moth, and I think we can't stop hyping him up because I don't think you really get to see how important main supports are to the comm structure and what he really does for that team. So again, if you aren't high on Moth now, get some. I think you really need to be paying attention. Here's the third thing. They have 3 main supports now. Yeah, Hyunu, Phozix, and Arc. Yep. Yes. Yeah. So what's going on there? I put out a question, request for comment. Haven't gotten anything back, but that is interesting. I'm not convinced actually that Arc is 100%ly the main support for them. I think there's a scenario where he becomes the flex support. I'm not sure. 100%. One of the two. It's a very low percent chance. But yeah, it's still strange. Yep.
I don't know too. I think, and I can't remember where I heard this, but I heard a rumor that they were looking at Phozix going back to flex.
Possible. Yeah.
So I mean, maybe that's something that's in the work, but I don't have confirmation of that. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's talk about this other one though, because you guys watch a ton of Contenders Korea. So
a little bit.
Seoul Dynasty picking up Illicit and Highly, and I mean Korea for me is I won't even say anything for this part. all I know is that Highly, pretty stellar Zenyatta player overall.
Yeah.
Really good actually against Sombra. Something that I saw that he had done often was he just is like a Sombra killer, which is kind of nice to have in your Zen.
Yeah.
And then some struggling with positioning stuff are the big 3 things that I heard about, with a strong uptick at the end of Contenders Season 3. And then for Illicit, projectile DPS for Blossom, right?
Yep.
But as we know, projectile DPS aren't really
not necessarily needed at the moment.
Important right now, but I guess we'll see from there. That's so there's your spark note. Now here's the actual analysis, and I'll let either one of you guys, I don't care, take it away. Tell us what this means. Is this a good?
Do you think Highly really was needed at the moment? Because I've always been very hesitant on Jaehong after Apex Season 3. I think there's been a slow decline, and now, at least in the GOATS meta, they're kind of getting it back together. He's doing fine. I don't think it's necessarily stressing him out too much. He hasn't been underperforming at all. I think he's been pretty fine, and he can still even flex onto the Ana at times. Highly is the weird one. I think Illicit is fine. You need another DPS. I think Illicit was good. I think Illicit's far is sick. I think his projectile, again, he's very much a stage 3, stage 4, different meta player.
Mm-hmm.
But for the long-term success of the team, I think he's quite good.
I heard that he can frag. I heard he's a little bit inconsistent, but when he turns it on, he turns it on.
Yeah. I think as far as very good, very good.
So do you just have Fleda locked in as hit scan then? Or
you could play, I mean, you have 2 incredibly flexible players. Fleda probably can play anything you want him to really put on. You can play Widow, you can play Pharah, you can play Genji, Tracer, probably could play Sombra to a decent level. Munchkin, I would imagine, probably gets in probably as your mandatory hit scan. At least that's how I would put it. So you have Illicit, and then Munchkin being your rotator and having Fleda stay within the team, and just it depends on the meta though. Do you need such a flexible player? Do you just need the Widow God? Depends.
Yeah. In my mind, it's because, okay, so they have 4 DPS now, right? They have Flatter, they have Munchkin, who's only...
and Fitz. I keep forgetting about Fitz.
And Fitz, yes.
Yeah.
And now I actually don't know what Fitz is anymore. Like...
Did we ever figure that out at the start? Because there was rumors that he was playing flex support and this, that, the other thing. Like, he was moving around day in and day out. So I don't know what this kid's doing.
Yeah, so I thought he was sort of like that projectile, but I guess that isn't as much the case anymore, and he's really just like a emergency tool for anything, so like a Hacksaw type character, where we don't know what kind of qualities he has, or if he's even close to Hacksaw, of course. But my bad. I think the illicit pickup is not necessarily the one I would have directly taken. I don't know. Like, I'm still not convinced of Munchkin as much. I think I would have put pressure on him rather than Flatter. But then again, we'll see. It's not like we can really realistically say what the current status quo or form of a DPS player is in this meta, other than, and if we can, then it's probably the Zarya player, right?
Yeah.
And even there,
there's a lot of it's mostly decision making and where you're shooting, where you're standing. It's not there is a sense of spatial awareness to it, and that's kind of what I just mentioned, but like it's not to the degree of like what we had in the dive meta. So yeah, I totally agree with you.
Fair enough. I don't want to spend too much time on these pickups because we do have a ton to talk about, obviously, with Stage 1 playoffs coming up. So let's move on to that. And let's talk about the playoff seeding for a second, because holy crap, was this a cluster on multiple levels, but also, man, I don't know. So here's the TLDR for those of you at home. The 3rd and 4th seeds, and I hope I typed this up right, because like I have to type it up just to make sure that I get all the teams right. 3rd and 4th seeds were up for grabs between Toronto and Philly, right? So they were tied. 6th and 7th seeds were up for grabs between San Francisco and Seoul. They were tied as well. The winner of the San Francisco Seoul match would play the Defiant, while the loser would go up against NYXL. On the flip side, the winner between Toronto and Philly would play against the winner of Shock Seoul, presumably Shock, while the loser plays against Atlanta Reign. So, in a normal situation, this would go to a tiebreaker match, with the winner getting the higher seed. However, in the case of Toronto-Philly, the situation meant that the winner would likely play San Francisco and the loser would play Atlanta. So you're kind of incentivized, right? So it creates an incentive to lose, essentially, because of this. So because of this, a coin flip was chosen as the method to decide who plays who. Did I snag that right? Yep.
I think so.
So the team
it is so weird, but I'm pretty sure that's right.
So basically, long story short, the winning team would have to play the better team. So neither team wanted to win, so they'd play Atlanta, and that obviously creates a competitive conflict. And so both teams instead decided to go with a coin flip. So let's talk about. So
where do you start with this?
So number one, the tiebreaker match wasn't streamed, which is a bummer. But
it was recorded though.
It was recorded. Are they going to be?
I would hope so.
And casted, and casted.
So they're just going to post it on later.
Maybe.
Why would they cast it? That's bizarre. Why not stream it at that point? I mean, you had the community countdown. I'm sure Jane, Broadcast GG, there's somebody out there willing to stream this match. I guarantee it. Why not? Why not?
Maybe it's at the request of teams to not give them enough information away.
Possible. That's fair.
I think that's also one of the better arguments against a serious tiebreaker.
Definitely. I can see a world where we actually do follow the rule book here. We'll get into this. And these matches are streamed, and it does kind of put you at a disadvantage. So again, something to kind of think about. Do we want to change these rules? I don't know. I'm not Overwatch League brass, but if it was up to me, I probably would.
So so let's talk about each of these matches. Let's talk about the show match first, or not show. I keep wanting to say show match, but the tiebreaker match that wasn't streamed. I mean, is that so? From a format perspective, does that feel ideal for you? Two teams tied in win-loss and in map differential. Is a tiebreaker ideal there? A tiebreaker match.
I think it's fine. I think there's other ways that this could probably have been solved that were a little bit more neat. I think the obvious one is either map wins or you just allow the top 4 seeds to just pick their opponents. You seed them accordingly, 1 through 4, and then they can just choose their opponents. You get a little bit more marketing out of that. If somebody makes a ballsy play, go for it. We can hype it up. It's something that we can talk about. But those two immediately remove all of this discussion and any kind of coin toss mishaps.
They do, unless you get like 4 and 5 tying, right?
Yeah, if you tie all the way down to map wins, then you're gonna need something else, and then maybe a tiebreaker off stream is fine. But you can't just, I don't know. I don't like the. I think it's fine if you want to have like a gentleman's agreement to like, okay, fine, go for a coin toss. That's that's up to you guys. But why have rules at that point? You have a rule book. Why don't we just follow the rules? I don't know. Seems very bizarre.
Yeah, the thing is, like with this tiebreaker rule, I can already tell you I'm going to hate it when teams only, for instance, there are teams that will only play each other in the first and in the 4th stage.
Yep.
So you're going to tell me that we are going to decide tiebreakers, or even worse, let's say they play twice in stage 1, like Fuel and Shanghai, right?
Sure.
Let's say they have a tiebreaker for, let's make it as bad as season playoffs or stage playoffs for, okay, like let's say season playoffs, right? Now you're determining, okay, for season playoffs it would be different. Let's say stage 3 playoffs, because they are still playoffs. Now you have almost 2 entire stages between that. The meta is very different, and you're going to tell me that it's going to produce the better matches by taking a tiebreaker, a direct tiebreaker between these teams from stage 1?
Yep.
There's no way this is sensical. Like, I heard Monty say this is going to be solved because there's going to be more data over the next stages, which is fair. There's a more likely scenario of, not splitting in maps, for instance, because there's just more maps. Sure. But direct comparisons that you then have are terrible.
Yes.
In comparison, unless they happen in that very stage, right? Yes. Like taking season results in general, like I don't like that tiebreaker because it is not the reality of Overwatch. For all we know, for instance, let's say that scenario, let's make it even more ridiculous and say it's the Outlaws. The Outlaws get sold before stage 2 starts. A new investor comes in, scratches all the stuff, all the players, and it's a shallow thing. That's completely possible, by the way, and sends their players in. And you're going to tell me they have to carry the burden that stage 1 Outlaws left for them? It's like, it's such a weird tiebreaker rule that is so alien to the realities of Overwatch and the Overwatch League otherwise rule set, right? So in that regard, I think tiebreakers are a necessity sometimes, though I'm sympathetic to the problems of it being very expensive to produce another one like this, right? I guess, like, let's just finish the point because I feel like I have to get on a hill here. I'm actually glad that we got to talk about this specific point. Otherwise, I would have had to write about it. And there's like a meta discussion behind this very thing, where I feel like if I had written about it, it would have come off very angry. But yeah, let's talk about the tiebreaker.
This does feel like a lot like last season when we were having the stage playoffs following that Sunday, right? Where it was just like, oh, we should have thought of this earlier. It's like, okay, when does the buck stop? Where, we should have thought of this earlier happens every season, where we're having teams that have a direct head-to-head comparison now are playing for stage 4 or stage 3 playoff seeding, or that's how it's decided, even though they've played in the playoffs and stages previous. So let's say we have a direct head-to-head comparison in the regular season that my team's poor at, but I beat Yiska's team later on in the season in the playoffs, in the stage playoffs, right? Those don't count. But because our teams only play once a season, because we're in separate divisions, my team gets to go ahead, or whoever was positive in that, hypothetical. And I think there's just, you don't want to have to do that. So it seems, and again, I can't imagine what it takes to run a league, but it seems like there's a little bit of foresight missing with some of these rules, where it's like, okay, well, we have rules. Why are we doing a coin flip? Why aren't they streamed? How do we know the validity of them? Like, I don't know. It's a mess that people are going to bring up for a while. And it's always something. It's always something.
It's really weird. Yiska, I know you wanted to. So you're talking about the coin flip. That's what you wanted to get onto, or no? Did I miss?
I mean, it's the perfect metaphor for the issues that we're seeing with Overwatch League as a run league, right? Like just this stage 1. Think of the amateur mistakes that would have been outrageous for a Go for Overwatch tournament. Or in anywhere monthly melee, right? I'm not even angry. I'm really just disappointed at this point. So we start off with fusions, right? Somehow this gets lost in the sauce that people are like not eligible, and the rule itself is super weird, and the transparency in it. And then even if you put some of the blame on the teams, then somehow it is initially the case that even if you sign them onto full contracts, that they then still can't play, and then they have to change those rules, as if that had ever made sense.
I want to stop you there real fast. The fact that you can have a 2-way player contract without an academy team boggles my mind. Continue.
Yes, that, by the way, people don't know this. A lot of these teams that don't have academy teams have people on 2-way player contracts for some reason, because they all thought that the 2-way player thing was completely different. And they wanted to have that optionality if they did decide at some point in the season that they wanted to have a contendency. So that goes wrong, right? Before that, we had all these problems before. I already knew we were going to run into problems when I was asked at TakeOver why I was drinking a beer behind the camera. Their expectations of how a tournament run are A, idealistic, and B, sometimes so really unfortunate, right? So you decided to be a tournament organizer, and you're telling me that you don't have all the rules made up by the time the tournament is running, and you're giving yourselves the optionality in rules to when it comes to the problem. That should be all figured out before the season starts. These things could be massively important for some teams. Mm-hmm. In fact, look at Defined now. These stage playoffs are way too high priced now that you put this up to like such a ridiculous situation. The way that then this conflict, it's unreal to me. So first they say on Twitter that Toronto should be heads, right? So Nate Nenzer then says Philly should be heads. He throws the coin and doesn't catch it. It's like the perfect metaphor for how they run the league sometimes. Not going to lie.
You're not supposed to catch a coin flip, by the way.
Even then, the coin wasn't on the floor, right?
Right. It needs to be. You flip it and you let it fall on the floor in the middle of a football field where you let physics and not players' feet take care of it. But yes.
Yeah. Yep. And this is also after we've had, honestly, the amount of people that need to be punished in the Overwatch League but aren't, even though the violations are available to the league office, is mind-boggling. There's so much boiling under.
What do you mean
surface.
by that? So you're saying that there are currently players who have violated Overwatch League rules who
there are players currently in the Overwatch League that have boosted open teams, and there's evidence for that. ready at the commissioner's office. It's not rank boosting, it's open division boosting.
So like Overwatch League players while on an Overwatch League are playing on open division
beforehand.
To be fair, but in the past they were, not
Yes.
in Overwatch League, but Overwatch League level players playing under the names of other open division team players.
Yes. Then what apparently very often happens is that you get a specific score and then you sell the team for $300 or something.
Doesn't
Stuff like this.
worth it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. But this is cheating.
Go run the auction house and WoW and farm some gold, dude, because I make way more money than that. So not real money, Blizzard bucks, but you know what I'm saying.
Also, like just the amount of account boosters, you have no idea. Like there I sympathize because it's very hard to find out. Some of the stuff I know is not hard to find out. It's all there already, right? And has been known. So that in itself is problematic. So, and then that rules are somehow malleable is, I don't know. I'm just really disappointed in something like this, especially because they also have the talent, the veterans in that company in the MLG stuff. I can't believe they are being utilized.
To be fair, I will stop you there. I did listen to the Deserto podcast, small plug for them, with Richard Lewis and Sundance DiGiovanni, who was the former head of MLG, kind of this, the grandfather of that whole baby. Something that he mentioned in that podcast is what they Activision Blizzard intimated to them that they were going to be brought in and used. Apparently that wasn't the case. And he was paid, he specifically, I can't speak for everybody else, but he was paid roughly 2 years to be a professional skier.
A professional what?
Skier.
Skier?
Yep, he was paid to basically just not work and just leave.
All right.
Now to Yiska's point, he can come off on a hill and die for this cause and just, berate Blizzard all he wants.
Yeah.
But it's consistent. If we go back to Takeover 2, did we like Best of One Oasis, Yiska? No. You guys complained about it. And it was, this isn't something that we're just, Blizzard should know better. It's not that he's picking on Blizzard and we're picking on Blizzard, because I kind of support what he's saying. This is something that if a random TO would have, we'd be up in arms. This is dumb. Fix this. This is something we would fight for. This isn't just because it's Blizzard. We're nitpicking Blizzard. No. This is just something that's silly and it should be changed.
Here's the thing. Here's how you fix it all. Very easy fix. You put the rule book out and crowdsource issues. Like literally there will be nerds outside. Some of them are on this podcast. They will read the rule book and tell you this is a stupid idea for these reasons. And by the way, in this, I already failed myself because I should have probably called out the 7 match stage thing, where the scheduling destroys some of the stage playoffs completely. There's like by quality of team, for instance, Seoul should absolutely not be in playoffs. Just if we look at how well they played and how well other teams played, for instance, right? That's in itself is an issue. But that is then on us. We can't complain if we know that has happened.
A bit, to a degree, yes. I would agree that, if we're going to complain and moan and, berate Blizzard, we have to participate in the rulebook. That is, to be fair, public, but now everything's malleable. Now we don't have to play matches. Now we can coin flip. So what are the rules? Do we have the rules? Is this updated? Is this public now? Like, is this what we're going to go by from here on out? I don't know. We need to have like a town hall. Like, what's happening? What's going on? Is this what we're going by? Because if this is the case, then here are the problems. But if it's not, what is?
That's generally like, that's even a lower level meta point. I think the product of Overwatch League would not only be much improved, but also generate more revenue if Overwatch League gave up more responsibility towards community projects. Give access to stats. Don't shut them down. Give access to rules. Let people figure it out who are just into this, right? Let people do the highlight cuts who do him very well.
To be fair, it sounds like that may be changing, that there may be going through, and this kind of is a bigger Blizzard thing that I've noticed, that they've been a little bit more active with the PTR as of late, right? Yeah. This last patch has gone through a couple iterations, a couple of different changes that haven't made it to live. Great. There's being work done with the Action Esports guys, and maybe they will be able to continue doing their highlights. Great. This is awesome. Why does it always have to be like a constant fight? Why does it have to be like, no, this is all mine? This is, we don't trust anybody. I get it. I definitely understand where you're coming from, but like, there are people out there that do a good job with your stuff, and then somehow it just goes away. We don't ever know.
The thing is, Blizzard doesn't have to. They can think far back, but they can also think back to the recent past of just how much more enriched their communities in esports were by the participation of community, by having it starts with trying to get StarCraft 2 to work as a spectator sport, building tools there. Then there's in Warcraft 3, there's Walk TV and Winamp, and we can cast games in the actual client in before the 2000s or something, shortly after. But then we move to World of Warcraft, and we have add-ons there, and that make the game more fun and more playable and more watchable. People's crowdsourced AI solutions and stuff. And it keeps moving on, and suddenly there's this brick wall with big investors where they're saying, okay, we need to do this all so we can say later we want to monetize this. It's very unlikely that you're going to have the manpower to take all the regions of the entire product of the Overwatch League. If you just like a good parent, just let the kids do their work, they will figure stuff out for you, and your product or everything else will multiply in value because people will participate more, cool stuff will happen, right? The only thing where this is currently happening is almost more in the T level, where you allow fan groups to organize themselves or whatever, right? And don't try to force them under the team umbrella or whatever, right? And look what comes out of that. Are they called the Venoms for NYXL?
Yeah, 5 deadly venoms. 5 deadly venoms. I guarantee you, I would be shocked not to hear that they are being picked up for the 2020 season. A couple members from their event organizing staff, planning this, that, the other thing, because it's going to be on the teams. Nate Nanzer has publicly said, this is going to be on the team's behalf, that you run ticket sales, you run your event planning. We'll take care of the broadcast. You have to run home games. They've been doing this for the past 2 years.
It's what esports is run on. This unlikely story of esports, of competition on video games, does only work because the communities create value around the teams. Look at how other game developers like Valve can be so cost effective and so highly profitable per employee by letting others handle the reins. And yes, they won't get all the tournament profits, right? But
to be fair to Valve and that whole discussion, there are another slew of problems that come.
Yes,
up. There is no infinite best solution, right? There is no truth here.
Yes,
it's just picking which side is.
If there's a spectrum between hands off Valve that might as well just be gods where we don't even know if they exist or not, or authoritarians on the other side in terms of the Overwatch League as it presents itself, at least to me and my understanding of esports,
sure,
yes, that there has to be more of a middle ground. We have to give way, where I'm sure Valve developer teams also want their developers to integrate themselves. So certainly other regions also have, or other games have problems, but yeah, we once we move to the middle, I think the viewership is even going to be much higher, and also it will help the game itself. In people want to participate in culture, but create culture themselves. And if we stifle that development, that is not the driving force behind esports. The win in your sales that you are using there.
Inspiring stuff. Bravo. Bravo. We're going to hard transition here. Talk about some matches. Yeah.
Take a bow.
We're gonna talk about some of the matches here a little bit. And we're going to start. So stage playoffs start tomorrow. It's going to be 2 matches per day instead of the normal, can't believe it, 4. Yeah, so we're going to have it over 2 days, and then seeds are going to get, well, essentially everything's going to get reseeded. So let's talk about this for a second. So playoffs get reseeded in the semifinals. So the highest seed that's still in after the quarterfinals gets placed to the highest seed in the semis. So for example, if NYXL were to lose and Titans were to win, Titans would take the top seed in the semifinals. So those get reseeded. That's why we don't know who is exactly going where. Thoughts on that? First of all,
we know where they're going in the quarters. We just don't know where we're going in the semis.
Right. We know where they're going in the quarters, and we're going to talk about the quarters today.
Reseeding? I like reseeding, if that's the question.
I don't mind.
Other than reseeding hairlines.
True. Don't like those. Bald is beautiful, though, so just saying.
Shout out to Sideshow at this point. Keep gluing that.
Hey, keep gluing. Yeah, keep gluing that on. Tanner Show was a beautiful sight. Hopefully we get to see some of Tanner Show on the broadcast one day. We'll see.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about these matches a little bit. I'm going to make you, as we did kind of in a couple of other weeks where we've actually talked about the upcoming matches, make you stick your money where your mouth is and make you choose a team that you think is going to win. Let's start with NYXL and Seoul. And first, let's go around the table before we start with anything else. Who's winning NYXL versus, so I'm already gonna say it. We're going NYXL for sure for me. Joe.
Yeah. Okay. Next.
NYXL.
Anything that we want to say about this one at all? Or are we good?
Easy 3-0.
This should be pretty quick. Seoul has looked better coming into week 5, but yeah, no, this should be pretty easy. New York is a weird machine that doesn't seem to have very many flaws. They started kind of a little slow with the GOATS meta, leaning a little bit too much on the Sombra, and now I can't pinpoint where I would go to kind of break that team down. I think I have a better idea with Titans. New York, I have no idea. I don't know how to beat this team. You play anything into them, they seem to have the answer. Maybe it's that their style is very obvious, that it's very much studied, that they play very passive, they play very reactive, and nobody's been able to figure it out. I have no idea, but this is easy for New York. This should be light work.
So Seoul's 4 wins in stage 1 were Spitfire, Justice, Hunters, and Gladiators. So all non-playoff teams.
Not the best teams. Gladiators, to be fair, looked better towards the end.
And again, Gladiators,
but this was still like messy Gladiators.
You know, and yeah, so it's just not
sorry. So, well, congratulations, you made your first stage playoffs. That's great.
Yeah, something strength of schedule.
Here's the rest of the week. Go practice stage 2.
Jeez. So,
sorry, guys.
All right, let's go to number 2. I mean, I'll have to do it right away, and that's going to be Titans for me. Yiska. Titans. Joe.
Yeah, it's Titans.
All right, fair enough. I didn't expect much else, to be fair, but I do want to talk a little bit more about this, because it is like, is there, Yiska, in your mind, is there like, what does Boston need to do here? They just barely sneaked into playoffs, had a very interesting stage 1 overall, with you know, some different players coming into the mix. Is this a team that you think, like, is there something that they can turn on or do or capitalize on the Titans to walk away with a win here? Any way you can mathematize it?
So the only situation where Vancouver looked mortal was when they didn't need the win anymore to get to stage playoffs. And then again, by the way, I catch myself in this argument, like, don't think this. It isn't about the stage playoffs. It's about the season playoffs, you stupid idiot. Okay. But of course they would want to win against Chengdu. It's not like, okay, we're qualified for stage playoffs. No, you want those wins for season playoffs. And I'm sure they're much smarter than me in these thoughts, right? But Yeah, and then they looked weak when it was off meta picks against them.
DPS comps. That's where I was headed. When I was talking about New York, Titans look mortal when you play DPS comps. Now, do they slowly adapt to it? Yes. Is it something that I'm sure that they realize as a weakness? Yes. Are they practicing it? I would imagine so. Can Boston pull that out though?
I don't know. I think that their quality is just like in their goats itself, and then in specifically fusions. I'm not sure if that is very transferable. So, for instance, if we were to say, okay, we put color hex on something DPS-y, where you would likely
Have you
look
been
better.
practicing that all season though? Do you just wing it and like
That,
Hail Mary, like hope? Because you're not going to beat them in goats.
yeah.
You're not going to beat them in the mirror and you tell me if I'm maybe off color here, because I feel like they're very similar in terms of how they're built, right? Very frontline heavy, very much focused on their Rhine. Is their Zarya player amazing? No, gets the job done though. Very much a frontline focus, very much a Rhine focused team. You're literally, this is a literal mirror match. Just Boston isn't as clean.
Fair.
So you need something. You need to throw a wrench in it. Could you see them pull out some DPS picks? Maybe. Is it going to matter? I don't think so. Yes. I think Vancouver might be even looking past them. Maybe they drop a map because they're looking past them. I could see that. I think they can be a little bit confident, I would say. Maybe a little bit, hubristic. But I'll give them, I think it's a best of 5, so maybe like a 3-1. Maybe they drop a map early because they're...
I could see them take
what
a
in
snap,
percentages? Right? What about percentage?
If we're going like Winston's lab model, like 75, 15, that's 25, whatever it is.
75, yeah, like 8, 70, 75 to 80.
Here
20.
we go.
Yeah, somewhere there.
Quick maths.
Quick maths, boys.
Yeah.
Where do you put it, Yiska?
25.
Yeah, I think that's fair. 80-20 even, maybe.
Yeah, I think
sure,
I lean a little bit more towards 80-20. I'd love to see it happen, though. I really would. Let's go to the next one then, because I feel like these last two are a lot more fun to postulate. So Philly versus Atlanta. Yiska, we'll let you start here. Where do you land on this one?
Both those teams are so hard to read. And what happened?
Nothing. Continue.
Okay. Both those teams had such unpredictable stages. They had not the hardest. I think they are a team with the two of the easiest schedules this season, if I'm not mistaken. So that in itself. Then also Fusion had to play with without Boombox half the season. What is going on, you guys?
I'm getting flamed in chat. Continue.
Okay.
Ignore me.
All right. And then. Oh yeah, okay.
It's about the
and
math.
Then okay. And and Atlanta itself is a bag of Skittles, right? So
yeah.
Can you read the rainbow?
Overall throughout the season, I would have to say Atlanta takes this. Philly has not looked they have not built the confidence in me that I think they could. It's very much a team that wants to play a certain style, but is kind of fighting against it. Much in the same way that Chengdu and Seoul have kind of like either picked their color or just kind of, worked on the fundamentals. Philly could be another one of those teams. Sato infinitely looks more comfortable on the Winston. I would say performs better on the Winston. I would tend to say you could draft strategies around that. We've talked to Christopher before. They seem to be a lot very, very confident in their Winston goats. I think you could run that. You could catch people off guard. They're going to have to practice specifically against you on that. Do they make that transition in this game? No, I don't think so. I think that's going to be much more of a not multi-stage, but like a stage decision that, okay, this is the way we're going to play this stage. Atlanta historically throughout the regular season has looked better. Their last match, I can't remember who it was against. Not great. Wasn't super happy with that. towards the end, I think was it Rialto? They looked a little bit better, but for the most part was a little sloppy. I think this is a game that Atlanta can win, though. Not easily, but they'll make it through.
Are you saying Atlanta?
Yeah.
Yiska, who are
How
you
much
saying?
percent?
You're with Atlanta as well?
No, I'm saying Philly.
Philly.
I'm saying Philly 65.
I'll say 60-40 Atlanta.
All right.
Damn.
So for me, I mean, man, Philly just like, and again, they haven't had Boombox, but the only reason the Mayhem aren't the worst team in the league are because of Philly. Like, so
No, they are the worst team in the league. Let's be honest.
They did lose. Just
so there's Philly definitely rode the strength of schedule. They played Valiant, DC, Mayhem and Lost, Eternal, and Spitfire, all bottom 6 teams, which is to me just insane. The only playoff team calibers that they played were the Fuel, 3-1 loss, and they barely beat the Reign earlier on. I think that Reign wins that same matchup today. So I do think that the Reign have it. I mean, Reign, like they beat Defiant, which is pretty sweet. They made a nice clean win of Florida, which is something that Philly couldn't do. So, if you like those attrition justifications, you've got a couple there. Yeah, I'm going to go Reign here. I think
I think
this one was tough though, because at the same time,
this is deceptively hard. This is not an easy match to call because both teams have been very shaky towards the end of the regular season. So,
and we've definitely seen teams, especially Philly, definitely even outperform their stage performances.
They get a playoff
when games are on the line.
They're that team.
Yeah, that's my point also. Yeah.
So
they're very good at prep.
I just like
Maybe.
For me, I'm not picking
Hopefully.
Philly because they should have been better. That whole stage,
Yes.
they just should have been better. They definitely didn't play up to their potential. I think Reign might be slightly playing above their potential, but I think they should get rewarded for it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And by I think they should, it means that I arbitrarily picked them. So you're welcome.
To be fair, you didn't do bad. I don't know if you saw the Reddit thread where somebody graded all of our power rankings. You didn't do too bad, to be fair. I think we all did pretty good.
Yeah, like 3rd or 4th, I think.
We were all like top 3. Everybody, we were talking in Yiska's Discord about like how we need to be like some sort of like WWE stable where we're like the Bullet Club or whatever. Like we need to have some sort of slogan and come in with like business suits on. I don't know.
Oh, we can do like the Mad Max stock show. We can just be the 3 of us in the studio. Have you ever seen that?
No
There's
idea
a stock show on like MSNBC with this guy like named Mad Max, and basically he's just like this super obnoxious dude, or Mad Money or something like that. Goes walking around, and basically we'll just have the 3 of us walking around in a TARDIS looking Overwatch themed thing, mashing buttons and buy now, sell now. Yeah,
pull the levers and pushing buttons that don't really mean anything to come to our conclusions.
Yeah.
Something.
So,
I don't know.
We'll see about that. All right, let's go on to the last one. San Francisco Shock versus the Defiant. I do have Shock on this one. Yeah.
Look at Joe, man.
I don't want to have Shock.
Dude, you not want to feel like hurt your friend's fifis?
Kinda. That is. I mean, it's pretty on brand for me. Let's face it. They came into the season, they were nervous, they're coming to the stage. I don't know, I can ask Broy numerous times, are they going to be nervous? No, they're not going to be nervous. They say they're going to be fine. Sorry, buddy. I think this is going to be close, but I think San Francisco has the stage, the playoff potential. They've played on the stage before. They've prepped for these teams before. They come in with a very clear style. Defiant has ended looking better, but San Francisco has had that consistency. They have the experience. They haven't shown any kind of weakness. I have to go San Francisco.
San Francisco. All
so
right.
I think the Defiant can make it closer than
100%. 100%.
my gut feeling tells me, I suppose. That's weird. Maybe I have two guts. Makes sense also. But it's like,
Is that
still,
like a cow?
on paper,
No, cows have multiple stomachs. Which
I thought it
stomach
was
is a
hearts.
gut, right?
What's the animal with? No, it is stomachs. You're right. I'm gonna go back to my math
Time
corner
Lords
and
have
learn.
2 hearts.
Oh, is that what I was thinking of? And maybe.
I don't know. I have no idea.
there are some. I think there are people who can have 2 hearts. There's a genetic
Really?
mutation. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, it's like, I think the Shock is still sort of in this mumbo jumbo where they still haven't, in the teenage stage, they still haven't quite figured out who they are. And
But their set strategies are pretty sick though. Like the King's Row rollout with the Hammond, the set positions for Architect, like they are a step ahead. Have they shown that? I don't think so. I think they're much like Paris, and I don't think we've seen them really catch their stride and continue like with momentum, if that makes sense. Like they haven't met like peak Shock, or we haven't met peak Shock yet. I don't think they've played up to their potential.
And to be fair, probably if they didn't play NYXL and Titans in the same stage, we'd probably still be looking at a 5-2, 6-1
Yep.
San Francisco
They play
Shock.
anybody different. I think this is like, I think these 2 teams are very much within the top 5. Defiant, I need more time with. I need to see them iron out a lot of their problems.
They barely beat Outlaws. They lost to Rain. They did beat Boston. They lose to NYXL.
There's a lot of asterisks on a lot of those
games, though. Yeah,
poor games where it's like, well,
Neko
wasn't in, and it's their first time on stage. Like we know they were nervous. When does that stop? And that's why
Stage
experience
2.
and just consistency. Stage 2, exactly. So I have to give it to Shock here.
Yeah.
It will be close. Mark my words. This will be a close game. I think Shock pulls it up.
I do.
Yeah, I think it might feel like a close 3-1.
Yeah, one of those where the final score.
Each match is going the distance, and you can't.
Yeah. I definitely do see that. That's fair. We went through those faster than I thought we would.
Do you want to kind of like go into what our semis would look like? Do you want to go that far?
So semis then are going to be NYXL versus Shock.
Well, it's going to change depending.
No. It's going to be Titans against Shock.
Yeah, Titans has the first seed regardless. They're seeded.
Titans has first seed.
Oh yeah.
Then Shock would be the lowest seed in the quarters. In the next.
Is that true?
In semis. Yeah, because they. Wait, is that true? Yeah, of course.
Let me look.
Because Boston's not going to make it in, and they eliminated Seoul.
Yeah,
so
you're right. Shock barely squeaked in, and they're right below Atlanta.
So it's Titans and Shock, and then NYXL versus Fusion.
Yeah. Depending, because I think Yiska has
Philly
going through.
Yeah, so
we have
Atlanta. So yeah.
So what would the matches be, just so I can write this down?
It'd be Vancouver versus Shock, and then NYXL versus
Atlanta
Rain
or Philly. Is that
Philly?
Already the semis look very good.
Yeah, if Philly comes out and can rematch against NYXL, that's a nice rematch. If we're subscribing to Yiska.
And then also Vancouver against Shock will be very interesting.
Nice rematch from the regular stage. Correct, they did play.
Yeah.
I was there at the watch party for that
against
one. That wasn't fun.
Harsha against his ex-girlfriend, so to speak.
Yeah. I was like, who did he take?
He said that. I'm like, is that? Should you be saying that?
He's a coach in Overwatch League, dudes. Do you think he's dating anyone?
I don't know. I've seen that video from Crumbs. Apparently,
time.
there's a lot of dating going around in esports. So,
oh, damn.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So let's take Titans Shock. I mean, I want to see Shock win that one. I just don't think they can. I just don't think they can.
I had
yet.
Shock in the regular season beating them.
I did too. But I also I had Titans, I think, at 6 or 7 in my power rankings, and they're obviously better than that. So
yeah,
what are you giggling at? Jeez.
No, I'm just laughing.
Just
see the direction you're looking and starting to giggle is that's a little bit, suicided by looks.
True. I don't know, man.
This is a great impromptu.
I think Titans
content.
has I think Titans has the amount of time to prepare for anything that Shock could throw at them. And I think Shock would then lean on the DPS comps that they've been historically pretty weak against. They have the roster to be able to field multiple DPS, Rascal, Architects, Baby Bay. They've got, a handful of DPS players. That's where I would probably tend to lean the direction that they would go. I think Titans has the time to prepare for that kind of stuff. I think they realize that this is a weakness of theirs, and they've been working on it since Chengdu. I think it's Titans. I think it's Titans that pulls it out close. Again, it's going to go all of the games. I don't know if this is a best of 5. I think it is still, correct?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just the grand finals are 7.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is all 3 games, all 5 games. They're going to be close no matter what. But yeah, Titans win.
Yeah.
I already hated best of 7s in Apex, by the way.
I don't think it makes for a better match or a more fair
No, it
match.
doesn't.
Like,
It really
that's
doesn't.
the idea of a best of 7 is if these teams are really close, let's make them.
Yeah.
But it's just Overwatch, I don't think really works well that way. All it does is just make it fatiguing on the teams and the viewer.
And the viewer, yeah. That's everyone's just a puddle at the end of the match, yeah.
I will say I was never a fan of the way that they ran the finals last year. I would agree that that's fatiguing, where it's okay, we're going to play a match now, and then we're going to play a match tomorrow, and then maybe we'll play another match. I don't know. That's very fatiguing to me. If I just have a block of time to sit down and be
according to
okay,
Wikipedia,
here's the best
semis and finals are best of 7.
Ooh.
Hey, that's a lot of Overwatch.
It's way too long.
I'm not sure if it's putting me to sleep, but it's I feel like there's a.
You should know by map 2 who's winning.
I almost feel less emotionally drained from a finals, from a regular day of Overwatch League, which could be 6 hours of Overwatch, than from a final series that is best of 7. There's just more emotion in, and then the whatever is flooding through your blood just leaves you so drained after the experience.
Yeah,
and I think even in the moment of success, it's a very different feeling. It's not as euphoric, I think.
Yeah, I think the only best of 7 that we really saw that was, and didn't it end up going to 8, was the Runaway win, right? That was one where all the stars aligned and made that kind of this really incredible 7 series experience. It's the grand finals of the entire season, though. It's not your stage finals. And
yeah,
I don't know. It's just different.
The final 2 Apex seasons, granted nobody watched those, were best of 7s that went the distance and were pretty hype, I will say. Season 3, Lunatic High almost losing on control maps specifically. They kept consistently tying, and then they would go to a final control, and then they won that control. And then GC Busan pulling up the Royal Road with Prophet pulling out Genji, and Sideshow having a complete meltdown in Discord.
I will also say it's a little weird, isn't it? It's basically you're qualifying for a 100-meter swimming race by having 2 100-meter swimming races against other opposition, and then you get to the final and suddenly you're swimming 150 meters. the skill set required to succeed in either cases are so different, and we're not even selecting over like half the stage for the 150-meter race. Like everything but the last two matches are best of 5 technically, because our 4-map thing plus a tiebreaker is a little weird in Overwatch, but effectively it sort of works like a best of 5, right?
Yeah,
where you still have to play out. So yeah, the selection method is just so different. It's very possible that other teams would produce way better season 7-game series, even towards the lower half of the league, because, for instance, they have a quality to adjust to their opponents, but they need a little bit more time or something like this, right? So I'm not a fan of...
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just the maps. Some just perform really poorly on some assault maps and better on the others, and getting to play both.
Ideally, I would enjoy it, right? I like in concept, like I do want to see New York versus Titans in this, best of 99, like to really determine who is the best,
for sure,
right? But that's in a vacuum. We have changing map pools. We have, sides that change. Maybe a team favors one side. That kind of sets the pace of the game. Imagine a game like tennis, right? It's just me versus you. The court doesn't change. The rules don't change. Nothing changes. It's just me versus you in a best of 99. At the end of that, we should have a pretty clear determinant of who is the better player, right? In a game where the court changes game on game, the ball weight changes, in boxing, the gloves may change, depending on where your promotion set up. Like the more variables you put in, I think the results can get skewed, and more often than not in esports, I think it tends to get skewed, and we don't end up finding the most truest victor.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, I don't think that a team that wins a best of 7, like, I don't know if there's any scenario that a team that wins a best of 5 doesn't win the best of 7, if that makes sense. No,
yeah.
Very few, I would say. Very few.
Like, and the teams that do, they have to be so marginally close that you need those maps to make
that swing in your favor for the final 4 games. That if it was a best of 5, you would have won, but because it's a best of 7 and we have these back 4 maps, we now take the final 4 games in reverse sweep.
So many, for instance, like if we just take the Apex finals, just cut it off after 5 games, we have completely different champions. If I remember, like Lunatic High doesn't make it, I think, twice. Runaway would have won season 2, I'm pretty sure.
Runaway would have season 2, 3-1 if it was a best of 5. They won Control, Hybrid, they lost Assault, and then they won Payload. Apex season 3.
Nerds.
Hold on, I'm looking. Kong Du Panthera wins first Control. Lunatic High wins Hybrid. They tie on Assault. It goes to a single control map. Kong Du Panthera wins that map, so they're up 2-1. Lunatic High wins Assault, so they're 2-2. They tie on the second Assault map. They go to a single control map. Kong Du wins that one 3-2. So that they would have won.
Yeah. GC Busan?
Or Busan wins Control. Runaway wins Hybrid. Runaway wins Assault. Busan wins Payload. Busan wins second Assault.
Okay, that would have been same. Yeah, okay.
But we can already start to see there would be some changes, to be fair. And yeah, to your credit, yeah, things would be different. So maybe we're off the cuff here. Maybe we're missing the mark.
I don't know. I don't love it. I don't mind a best of 7 grand finals to make it grand.
It's not the hill I would die on, to be fair.
No.
But like semifinals, I'm like, dude, just let me play some Apex. Yes. Like, jeez. Yeah.
Semifinals with reseeding, I don't think, like, from a from a broadcast point of view, you almost want upsets. So like reseeding goes against that. You want the viewers to have somebody to cheer for, it
You
works in
also
semis,
want-
probably falls off in the finals, to be fair. But
You don't
they'll
want
tune in.
upsets.
Yes, you want good finals.
Yeah, you don't, and you also don't want upsets if it's clear that the format favors like underdogs or whatever. But like you want close games that people are into for the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I think that's the goal, is that you have close games that everyone's invested in, from a fan perspective, from like an in-game micro perspective. So, yeah. All right, we got to get out of here though. We're out of time. It was a fun show.
That was good. I like that.
I liked it too. I can't wait to see who we crown stage 1. So just off the cuff, who wins stage 1 playoffs? Yiska. Who do you have taking it all the way?
That's a hard one. Wow. See, I would like to see these teams play first before I make that call, but
No, I don't care.
If the rest of the fans are going in blind, we're going in blind. Who takes it?
Vancouver.
All right. What about you, Joe?
Regardless of the winner, to be fair, I do want to celebrate something that is momentous. New York will be reaching their 5th stage final in a row. I think that deserves some sort of accommodation, some sort of reward. If I'm remembering that correctly, I think this is 5 in a row that they've reached the final. At least they might not have won, but they've reached the final. I don't know how you stop the train of New York. Titans have looked weak against multi DPS compositions. They're very obviously playing around bumper. Can they resource manage and play around somebody else? Can they play a little bit slower? Are they going to get caught into the spider's web that is New York's play style, that is very reactive, and they want them to engage in it, and that's kind of what they play for? I don't think so. New York has shown different looks. They can play with the Sombra. They can play without the Sombra. They can play normal goats. They can play Winston goats. I think New York takes this close-ish, but I think they win.
I've just learned not to disagree with Joe on this one.
Let's just throw the other guy under the bus. All right.
I've just learned not to disagree with Joe on this. So I honestly am back and forth all the time.
It is hard, to be fair. It's very difficult. This is like knife's edge.
I think that NYXL is just such an individually talented team that I think that they are the team that can make Titans bleed. But I don't see the Titans being the ones to actually, like, when challenged, to be the best team. So I'm going to say NYXL here. All right. That's it. Let's get out of here. Thanks for hanging out today, guys. Hope you had fun. If you are brand new, make sure to hit that follow button. Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast if you aren't already. There's a button somewhere to that as well. Of course, we love your follows. We love your subs. We love your bits.
We love you. We just love you.
We love you.
Expect something for Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah, it's March. I'm like, when
you're thinking very far in the future,
like
100
months in the future.
I'm so long form that, dude, I have the next 5 years planned out.
Wow.
Or time just doesn't mean anything to
Dog,
you.
I got into
You have 2 hearts. You're a time lord.
Yeah, and I can't do math, by the way.
That's also true. Yeah. What does math mean when there's no time?
Exactly. You know, it's all a construct.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was something. Joe, what do you have going on this week, man?
If I can stop playing auto chess, I need to study Guangzhou, because I feel like they're a team that I'm not even entirely too familiar with in their playstyle. I've done a little bit of light research. Somebody requested on my YouTube channel, so be on the lookout for that sometime soon. I'm still trying to figure them out. Interviews for contenders are always coming. Be on the lookout for that. I want to hype up this showdown. I want people to be excited for that, because the end of the Overwatch season, this isn't the Overwatch League season anymore. The end of Overwatch's season is going to be intensely hype. We're going to have a ton of fantastic matches, so just be excited for that. I want to start now with the hype. Other than that, follow the Twitter for all the updates and all the work and all the videos when they come out.
Sweet. Yiska, what about you, man? What are you up to?
I'm planning some interviews to close out the month, and then I got a pretty cool piece coming out with like a lot of coaches who I asked what they think the new meta will be, and also pretty diverse opinions and from pretty like a wide set of different backgrounds in Overwatch, so that's pretty cool. I'll probably also have to talk somewhere about why I think 2-2-2 allows for more freedom than less. And
I think that's like an episode we should just like record and just save for like a rainy day, that like the ladder lock and the locking the game for 2 roles, I think would be pretty intelligent across the board. So I think that'd be a fun one.
Mm-hmm. Sick. As for me, doing some more streaming right here. That Apex Battle Pass came out, so I've been doing a lot of that.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on that before we close out?
It is horse.
Yeah,
it's so bad. Such an afterthought. Yeah. Not my favorite, but better than nothing, I guess.
True. At least there's something to play for now.
And that's the thing, is if you have a game that's fun, it doesn't really matter. The game, playing the game is the reward.
Yes.
And the rewards are more to just reward you for enjoying the game. There is a level of like, oh man, I really don't want to play right now, and you grind through it to get the rewards, and it kind of keeps you into it. I mean, like World of Warcraft for me is like definitely a game that's like that sometimes. So I'm glad it's in there, but man, it's just
I think my favorite comment on those skins that you get for either like Wraith or whoever, it was like it looks like they all painted the same house.
Yeah.
Like the color palettes are insanely close together. Like there's not much changing about them. There's nothing kind of vibrant. It's just like this very typical like brown, very like earthy. Boring,
they're just like
dull.
They look like their default skins look like colorful and exciting.
Yeah,
and
this one's just like a toned down. It's like I'd rather play default.
You can look like those army men that are just all painted the same color in the bucket. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Unintentional camouflage.
Yeah. So playing that between watching Overwatch League and finishing up this juice cleanse here, like 17 hours to go, and then I'm cleansed.
Cleansed.
Then I am cleansed. So yeah. Other than that, just hanging out on Twitter, doing all that good stuff. So
very nice.
All right, we're out of here. Make sure to sub to your favorite streamers and do good things, chat. You're excellent. We'll see you next time. Bye.